And for more on all of this, we're joined now by Marc. He served as White House Legislative Affairs Director during the first Trump administration and was Chief of Staff to Vice President Mike Pence. He's currently the board chair of Advancing American Freedom. Marc, thanks for being here with us.
Jessica, thanks for having me.
As you kind of look at all of this and you see what they're doing with Maxwell right now, Todd Blanche down there talking to her, what do you think this is really about?
Well, my best assumption is trying to find some other avenue as opposed to just releasing all the information and hope that some sort of her testimony will say things that happened or didn't happen they could put out. But I'm not sure that's going to work without the full transparency. I think there's been so much for several years of promises made by J.D. Vance, by Pam Bondi, by Kash Patel of once elected, this is the information they'll provide. And obviously it's such a horrific and salacious story of trafficking these young minors. A lot of Americans want to have the information.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of at the heart of it when you really just make this purely political, right? Is that this was promised to a lot of supporters. There were so many theories, so many promises made that if you don't finally give them something, do they really ever let this go? Not to say he would ever lose their support per se, but it could nag at him.
Well, Jessica, I don't think it's just something. I think they have to give it all.
Yeah.
I think if it's just some piece of it, you're only going to enrage that support more. I think President Trump has obviously survived a lot of different controversies. And so I don't think his support is really at risk. Right. But I do think there's a risk for a lot of other Republicans because, again, this was something that was put out there to say that in many cases the expectation, belief that they were prominent Democrats who were participating in this. And so that has been out there, and a lot of their supporters want to get the information, which is why I think you see Republicans continuing to sign on to a discharge petition. And I think there's probably some false sense of relief that you reached the recess and it didn't happen yet. But Jessica, I think as members go home, they're only going to hear from their constituents more that they want this information. So I think you're probably going to see this problem just continue to swell during the recess until, again, they actually provide the information.
And what you're getting at is that Mike Johnson let everybody go a little bit early so they didn't have to deal with this, hoping that this would maybe quiet down when they get home. But to your point, this doesn't seem like it's fading anytime soon. And short of being fully transparent, people are still going to want a lot of answers. So do you see more? I mean, we are seeing this in real time, but does it force a point with Republicans on the Hill where they are actually fighting for their own political survival?
Yeah,
right?
I think it does, Jessica, because I think even Speaker Johnson, I think, was just affording the president's team more time because even though there was not a vote this week, he did say on another TV interview that he expects full transparency from the administration. And so I think it's just basically affording them more time to reach the same conclusion. But yes, because I think the president has locked in support. And the challenge for Republicans, as it was in the midterms of 2018, is there's a lot of fall off from those people who just want to support Donald Trump, but not other Republicans. Well, what does that happen to those Republicans in the midterm if all of a sudden the base of the party believes they're withholding information and they all of a sudden become dispirited and they don't turn out for them? So I think it is a political concern for a lot of other elected Republicans to say, we're going to demand this transparency until we get it.
And then we saw the president today as he was leaving, and he said he hadn't thought about issuing a pardon for Maxwell, but he said he had the right to do it. But that he didn't say no. Let's put it that way. Again, you're not in the current administration, but what is the thinking, knowing some of these key players as you do, what is their thinking in moments like this? This is a crisis. I feel like they haven't quite faced one where they haven't been able to get their hands on it, wrap their arms around it as they have others.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming the president was just sort of caught off guard in that moment. But at the same time, I'm sure they want as much participation from Maxwell as possible. So you don't want to say you're closing the door to that. I think it is the right thing to do to say I'm closing the door to that just because of how heinous these crimes were. But perhaps that's what he was getting at and why he left that door open.
Well, and that's the thing, too, because as Brianna pointed out, without Maxwell, and she's convicted, this has all gone through the court of law, there would be no scheme. Jeffrey Epstein would not have been able to do what he did. And for those supporters to pardon somebody like that,
yeah, I still think that's impossible. It's really hard for me to imagine that transpiring. But I think, again, this is not going to go away no matter what piece they give out or what piece they give of Maxwell testimony until I think the American people see the full files.
Okay. So we wait and see if that's where we get. Marc, always good to have you. Thank you for being here.